But I ought to be wearing a hat.
Welcome back, folks. What is today? April 10th, 2022. Man, we got a good show lined up today. We got a lot of stuff going on. And let's get the right screen here. There we go. Now we got a full screen. Welcome back, folks. April 10th, April 10th, 2022. We're 1 minute into the show, and I've already got my first air, fellas. We're doing that's about par, isn't it, though? We got a lot going on this week. We've got some high school stats. We've got some really cool things that high school teams are doing. Before we get going, though, fellas, let's go around the horn. Chris, let's start with you. I appreciate you coming back here with us. You got those stats all set up for me before we got started here. How you been? What have you been up to? And tell us whose hat that is.
It was spring. Cal State Fullerton.
Nice.
It was spring break for us this week, so I pretty much spent the week around the house doing nothing.
That's about par. You know, it's spring break coming back for everybody now, and we'll notice that with the number of games now. That obviously baseball in March in Indiana, a lot of games are rained out. Matter of fact, if you see the bottom of our scroll there real quick, you'll see Thursday and Saturday's schedule on our schedule feed. That what you're seeing there at the bottom, that is the high school games this week, and our Thursday and Saturday games are still being churned away right now as we speak. We'll have those in there shortly. And let's move down to Lafayette. Jeff's got that sweet Lafayette Jeff hat on. Sweet Lou, what have you been up to?
Well, we've been following Broncos after a 2-game winning streak. We went to Logansport and got a 14-7 win on Tuesday, and then went to Logansport on Wednesday, and a very disappointing loss. Had an 8-4 lead going into the bottom of the 7th. Logansport scored 5 runs on no hits, and a lot of walks, errors, and we just crumbled in the bottom of the 7th. Got beat 9-8. And then took Friday off, and then Saturday we hosted supposed to be the Joe Heath Classic. We were supposed to play 3 games in 2 days, and because of the inclement weather in this great state of Indiana, we ended up just playing a doubleheader Saturday against Crown Point at Loeb Stadium, and went down 7-3 in game 1 and 8-6 in game 2. So busy schedule next week. We just added number 1 Fishers on Monday night, and then we got the Kokomo Wildcats, Peru Tigers on Friday night, and next Saturday hosting the North Montgomery team. So it's a busy week ahead. We got to reflect on what just happened in the last 3 or 4 days, and hopefully I think Clayton Richards is going to get things squared away. We're playing hard, but pretty young team. My Cincinnati Reds won again today. They of course against the world champs. So pretty excited about that, and been rooting for my Hoosiers. They won the first game of a doubleheader today, but as Chris had said off camera earlier, they're trailing at West Lafayette in game 2. So that's just about it. Kind of busy schedule next week and the week after, and it can't think of a better place to be here. Plenty of baseball, and real excited.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned some, Lafayette Jeff and Logansport, Crown Point. You talk about some historic programs there. I tell you what, that is entertaining. I want to insert a meme right here from what's that movie, the Gladiator movie, where it says, "Are you not entertained?" I mean, there was some great games this week for sure. Steve, let's go down to you. Who you talked to this week? What do you got going on?
Well, I got to go around with some miles. I didn't go to Kansas City like somebody on this panel here, but I did get around. Went to Oak Hill. So Oak Hill's first game on their new turf field. They unfortunately for the home folks, they lost to Eastern Greentown, but that was a beautiful place. beautiful place. And they had workers still putting up part of the gate and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But the field itself is, you know, legit. And I think they played a game until the weather took a turn for the worse. I think they had a game scheduled on it, varsity or JV, the rest of the week. This was Monday.
Right.
And then Tuesday, the South Bend Cubs had their media day, and I went to that. And then when I was in South Bend, I saw Butler and Notre Dame. And then on Thursday, I saw Carroll came to Penn, so I saw a game there. And then last couple of days, I was on the road. I saw the Saturday Purdue, Indiana, 17-0. Jackson Smelts 13 strikeout, 1 hit, 8 innings. That was quite a performance. I don't think anybody at Purdue, even in the Big Ten, has had 13 strikeouts in over a decade. So
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. Yeah.
McCutcheon kid, really neat story. I did a story for my blog, posted about him. He's been through all kinds of stuff, and he's had Tommy John surgery. He's had a brain tumor. He's had hip surgery. He was redshirted as a freshman. He's had injuries all the way going back to junior high. He got the Brady scholarship for courageous things like that. It's pretty cool. So and then today I was at the Indiana Sports Writers and Sportscasters Association banquet in Greenwood and got home about 10 minutes before we started the show. So.
We could have a whole show just talking about your week. Yeah, you had a lot going on here. And speaking of a lot going on, we're glad to have our Fort Wayne, our native coach, back with us, back from Arizona. Mark, I'm glad that you joined in just in time. I know you were busy all day today, even just made it right in time. Tell us about what you've been up to now that you're back from Arizona.
Well, honestly, today I was on Lake Erie fishing, and I had to hustle back because I wanted to be part of this show because, the things that are going on here in Fort Wayne, I think it needs to be talked about with the Ivy Tech situation, how that's blowing up. I have my opinions. I'm not real impressed with their decision making and how it's going down. It affects, it's not the effect it has on Ivy Tech baseball, but the effect that it has on the community. We're the second largest city in Indiana, and we're getting a college baseball team. They're trying to take it away, and it's devastating. There's a lot of kids that wouldn't go to college if it wasn't for junior college baseball and the opportunity to play baseball. Therefore, if they wouldn't go to college, they wouldn't be furthering their education. And to me, in the Sluggers program, that's what it's about. We have kids from 10U to 12U or 18U. They all want to do that. But realistically, when you get to high school, that's when you start thinking about your options. And the other thing is Indiana right now has 3 junior colleges. Surrounding states, Illinois has 30 plus junior colleges. Michigan has 30 junior colleges playing baseball, and they're getting ready to add 2 more. Ohio, I don't have the exact number on Ohio, but they have more than 3 junior colleges. I know, unfortunately, when COVID hit, they lost a few junior colleges over there to whatever reasons they had, but we have 3. And I think you need those options for kids. There's a lot of kids that will go to college and have new opportunities, and they're getting the rug pulled out from under them. And I just don't understand it. I don't see why after, the programs, it's one thing if someone comes up and says, we want to start this here, and they say no, but this has already started there. Lance Hirschberger did a great job of putting it together. in the beginning, I was kind of hands-on. I seen Lance's business plan. It was very detailed, very thorough, very well put together, and they moved forward. You know, unfortunately, Lance isn't there anymore, and Connor Wilkins is, and he's doing a great job. He's not the same kind of guy as Lance, but nevertheless, he's doing a great job of running that program. And, you know, before a game, they pulled him aside and said, "Hey, we're going to shut you down." Before a game, they did that. And yeah, it just, how do you handle that situation? As you know, it's one that I think needs to be discussed here. I think we need to have be a voice in the state saying, "Hey, we need this. We need junior college baseball in Indiana." You know, we have the D1s, we have the NAIs, we have every other level, but we do not have a good contingency of junior college baseball. And here we are, the second largest city in Indiana, and you know, we have it, and now they want to take it away.
Well, I'll tell you what, and you hit the big point to me. You hit the nail on the head, which is there are so many kids that would not be going to school if it wasn't for the junior college baseball option. And I remember when Lance started it back in, what was it, 16, 17?
18 was the first season.
18. And I was just giddy. I was so excited that they were able to start the program. And I'll tell you what, we're going to devote almost the whole end of our show to discuss this, because like Mark said, it's a big issue. And I think, like you said, Mark, I think we do need to be a voice to make this happen. And I think there are, and we'll talk about this when we hit on it towards the end of the show, but there are options, I think, where we can help save that program, or at least spread the word that there are options. It's, you know, it's not totally a done deal yet. You know, according to Ivy Tech, it might be.
I don't think it is. I think there's people out there that aren't aware of the decision, and you know, there's a petition going around right now. I don't know if that's the answer, but I think that I'd like to hear what your ideas are, what your options are.
Well, we're gonna devote a lot of this show to that, so folks, so stick around, because I mean, there's high school kids listen to this show right now, and there's coaches that promote that JUCO route. And you know, all five of us on this show, we're all fans of the JUCO route. So it's, you know, we don't want to skim the surface on this.
They have a kid right now that's one of the top 5 pitchers in the country.
Yeah.
You know, and not many people know about that. And this kid came out of nowhere and wouldn't be on the radar if it wasn't for Ivy Tech baseball.
Right. He's dropping triple digits on the radar gun, and we're going to be seeing him, you know, we're going to be seeing him playing in the bigs. And like you said, it's that JUCO route that gave him that opportunity and gave him that exposure. You know, he wouldn't have had that exposure otherwise too. So let's run through some high school and other college stuff, even some pro stuff, before we get going. You know, one of the things I love about baseball is how baseball provides an opportunity to give back to the community. You know, and here's one perfect option of it right here. Fishers this week, they posted this, that they helped prepare over 4,000 meals today for Gleaners Food Bank of Indianapolis. And, you know, like the person where they put, love seeing the teamwork come out as we began working. Servant leadership. Absolutely. That is the epitome of servant leadership right there. And I absolutely love it. And here's another one. Also out of the HCC conference, I'm going to play a video for you guys. This comes out of Zionsville. Let's take a listen.
Thank you very much, Mateo Walls Fonseca, from every kid in the Valley of Cauca, for all the donation, and Zionsville in Indiana, thank you very much.
I just thought that was awesome. I don't know if you guys here, I mean, I know our viewers saw it, but did you guys get to see it too? Did I make it so you could see it?
I saw the tweet. Yeah, very cool.
The kid out of Zionsville, Mateo Wells, I believe his name was, earlier, maybe even before the season started, created this program to help fund this team in where was it here? I don't have it in front of me. Oh, here it is. I forgot where the team was, but he did that all on his own, and that's what I absolutely love. So let's move on with some more high school stories here. Let's go through some of the. This is, folks, this is things that were taken from the hashtag BAI this week. That's Baseball Across Indiana this week. Make sure if you want your highlights on our show, make sure you tag BAI this week. This is just a couple fun ones I put on there. You know, this is one part of baseball that I love. You know, it's not just what happens on the field. It's what happens off the field. New Washington baseball, the Mustangs there having dinner together. Then you got Huntington North there having a bowling. I like what they put there. I guarantee you there will be more strikes tomorrow than tonight. That was a couple days ago.
Hey, a funny thing on the Huntington one is they had the kid who had the lowest score, but then commented that his velo was good.
Nice. Lawrence Central here, senior Charlie Hawk struck out 11 of 12 batters he faced versus Pike. Let's just go through these here, guys, and if you have any comments on them, just chime on in. I wanted to mention this one real quick. First of all, Calumet Christian is 11-0. So, you know, they've played a lot of games. And last week I said, I think 3 times that it was Coach Landgren, or Landcrum, I think it's pronounced, but he got a hold of me, and he's not their coach this year. So I wanted to make sure I put this in. It's Coach Bill DeRuiter is the new coach there for Calumet Christian. And man, this Coach Bill DeRuiter here, he was also the girls basketball coach where they won the Indiana Christian Athletic Association state title. And he was I don't know if it was a region or national Christian Athletic Association coach of the year. So, I mean, this guy's knows how to lead a team. Also wanted to throw this out here real quick. You can't really see that lid right there, but if anybody from Gary West is listening in, Hardy the Hat Guy, I need that lid because you guys didn't have a team last year. This is the first time they've had a team since 2019. So I had to throw this out there real quick. And I need that lid. We need to put that on the collection there. So help a hat guy out. Spread the word. Gary West, I'm glad to see you guys back on the ball diamond. And let's get that lid taken care of. Moving on here, I posted this one this week. Coach Pat O'Neill had big win number 400. Of course, he's in the Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame. We've mentioned it a few times on here. He was the coach for Brownsburg back in 2005, guys, when they went 35-0. Yep, 2005, correct. Jeff says. And I know Jeff's a big fan of Coach O'Neill, and he's worked with him quite a bit to get those stats from a lot of those players.
The Ken Schreiber playing and coaching tree.
Yeah, he's from some lineage there of coaching that is royalty for sure. You mentioned some of his players on the Brownsburg team. You're talking Lance Lynn, Drew Storen, Tucker Barnhart. So he's had some. And Danville's got a team this year. I'm here to tell you, they came back for a win this week. I think they were down 7-0, or maybe 6-0, and come back for a win.
Down 16-3 and came back and won like 20-19 or something.
Yeah, it was nuts. Let's look at some high school stats. And again, folks, make sure you put that, and I had to put this one in there, Jaeger Bray. I just like the name. I thought that was a cool name. That's a baseball name right there. I had to throw that out. Well done, Jaeger. I like this stat right here. I like to put together just some, different kinds of stats each week. And here's one: stolen bases per game. Donovan McKinney Sr. of Sullivan, 2.2, and Bryce Yarling of Waldron has 2.5 stolen bases per game. That's pretty solid. That's a couple of speedsters right there. Then let's look at some batting stats here. And don't forget, we're going to mention our second player of the week this week. And we talked about it, man, and there were some big stats, a lot of tight voting here because a lot of good stats as you're going to see here. First of all, Clay Douglas, the senior out of North Posey, 4 for 7 with 4 doubles. So, I mean, that's a stellar week against Tell City and Perry Central. I'll throw out here again real quick, folks, not only the BAI this week, but make sure you get your stats on Twitter because, this is one of the main ways we find them. Got to mention Trevor Corbett here, a freshman from Noblesville in a double hit or not a double hitter, but versus Avon, they played them back to back, was 3 for 5 with 5 RBIs. He was 3 for 3 on him the first day with 4 RBIs in one game. That was pretty stellar. Jack Brown, a sophomore, got some young guys here. Sophomore out of Fishers, and he was 4 for 7 with 5 RBIs and 2 doubles. So a freshman and look at the opponents right there. Look who they're playing. They're playing Zionsville. So this is a sophomore that is, remember that name. Let's just put it that way. Moving on here, Evan Zapp. That baseball fans may know that last name. This is the son of AJ Zapp, who graduated from Center Grove. Matter of fact, I always joke, AJ Zapp was on a team back in 19.
He was a Mr. Baseball.
Yep, he was Mr. Baseball. And I coached, and once again, I'm putting quotes around the word coach because we're talking about me. I was just the adult on the team, but I was coaching an all-star team back in my hometown of Clinton. And it was 13 to 15-year-old kids. So, freshmen down to 7th grade. And it's a good group of players. This was back before the class system. So when this group I was coaching, when they got to be seniors, they were ranked 9th in the state before class baseball. And this is a small school. Not because of my coaching, but I'm just accentuating the point on how good they were. But they went and played after we won the senior little league. We won the region. We went to play Center Grove. And AJ Zapp's team, and also on that team was Tom Gandalf, who I mentioned last week, runs the Gandalf Bats. But I always joke because AJ Zapp hit a home run that I think just landed last week. The guy was just a stud. And his son, Evan, here, man, he's at it too. 4 for 6, 8 RBIs, 3 runs, and 3 triples. And that's not even the player of the week. So let's keep going here. Braxton Pratt from Alexandria Monroe, a junior, who played Blue River Valley and Taylor this week, went 4 for 5 with 5 runs and a double. Gavin Smith, a senior out of Logansport. Jeff, you were at this game, I think. Played 2 games versus Lafayette. Jeff, he went 5 for 8 with 4 runs and 2 triples. So Gavin Smith, they're a senior for the Berries, lighting it up. Ryan Wilhite, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that name right. Another underclassman, another freshman from Princeton. He played Pike Central, South Knox, and then Pike Central again this week. The freshman, 4 for 8, 3 ribbies, and 2 triples. Another good week there. Dominic Decker, coach's son there, I think, out of Silver Creek. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah,
He was
exactly it. He's the one that got the strikeout for his dad's 500th career victory.
That's
We
right.
talked about that last week.
That's right. He was 6 for, still making his dad proud here, 6 for 9 with 6 ribbies, 5 runs, and 2 doubles. Another strong week for him. Max Clark, you guys might have heard of him. Franklin Community Junior, 4 for 9, 2 ribbies, 5 runs, and a big fly. Home run versus Plainfield this week. So he's still running strong. Let's talk some pitching stats here. Peyton Robin and 2 Riverton Park guys in a row. I'll tell you what, Riverton Park, I almost made it to their game last week. This is a team I really want to watch. They've got a couple pitchers there. This is one of them, and they are strong. Peyton Robbins, the senior from Riverton Park, played Fountain Central and North Vermilion, the Mustangs and the Falcons. He had 8 innings pitched with 14 Ks and 0 runs. That's right, versus North Vermilion, our first no-hitter of the year. Right there, Peyton Robbins, I believe, as far as the stats I've seen. The other one, Hunter Collins here, the senior out of Riverton Park. He only pitched 4 innings, but he had 10 Ks, and it was against Park Heritage, who is good. Park Heritage is real good, and he did it at the Banks of the Wabash Classic in the championship there. So a great performance by him. That's that other Riverton Park player that I really want to go catch. Dylan McDaniel, the junior out of Shenandoah, 8.2 innings pitched, only 3 hits and 18 Ks. Another great performance by him from Shenandoah there. That's the name. I think he is leading the state in strikeouts, I believe. I'll have to look that up. But Gavin Lash from Wapahani, and I typed that wrong there. I apologize, Wapahani fans. I don't know what Wapahanio is. I put an extra O on there. Sorry, Wapahani. But Gavin Lash had a great performance versus Blue River Valley. 7 innings pitched, 14 Ks. I can do that math. 2 Ks per inning, and 0 free bases right there. Good performance by him. And look at this guy right here, Kiefer Wilson, senior out of Greencastle. On the mound, he had 7 innings pitched and 15 Ks. At bat, 7 for 9, 4 ribbies, a double, and a big fly. That's a pretty good week right there. That is why we are giving him the BAI Player of the Week, Kiefer Wilson out of Greencastle. I think he might be listening. Kiefer, congratulations. What a fantastic week. And he keeps moving along. Matter of fact, Chris, I think you were talking about his stats before, not counting total, and they were pretty big. And you said where he's going to college too. What were you saying there?
Only Central, a powerhouse junior college in Illinois, who is loaded with powerhouse junior colleges.
Yeah. And what I think right now, what's their record? Did you have that off the top of your head? What their record is right now? I mean, how good of a program this is?
I want to say 18-13, somewhere in there. I had it up earlier and then I got off of it.
But like you said, another powerhouse junior college program right there. I know I talked to Coach Wells a little bit before we got started here. I don't know if Coach Wells is listening in or not, but boy, this guy's strong. Another one to I'm hoping that Greencastle's not that far of a drive for me, so I'm hoping I get to get out there and catch a game of theirs this year. Any other highlights before we start talking about D1 baseball, guys? Anything from the high school scene that we didn't talk about yet? Or we want to move right into D1? Let's go right into D1. First thing I wanted to mention here, Evansville beat IU this week. IU, they've had a tough week. After sweeping Michigan State, now 5-0 in that homestand. And so they're looking strong, Evansville is. A couple other highlights here. Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mastodon alumni in the pro, Evan Miller, with a great first outing in AAA with the Padres. 2 innings pitched, 0 hits, 0 walks, and 4 Ks. So a Mastodon alum right there, Evan Miller. Steve, I appreciate you posting that one. I stole that from your timeline this week.
Yeah, Evan Miller's a LaPorte kid too.
Yep. Now I don't have, let me look at this. I've got my highlights all messed up here. So we're going to remove the highlights because I don't know, looking at the stats right here. Ball State 1-2 week, ISU with a 3-0 week, and man, they beat Purdue, and who else did they beat? I can't remember who else they beat. And I'm looking there. Oh, okay. I was looking at, I thought Steve sent me a message.
Oh, Valpo.
Valpo. That's right. Notre Dame with a 5-0 week. And it started out with that, the last win over Florida State, which we didn't have, on there this week, but then they also beat, I think they beat Clemson once. But they're over the last 2. They're on an 8-0 span right here. Notre Dame is, so man, they are climbing.
They swept Clemson at home. Well, if they won today, they did, and I guess they beat Butler on Tuesday.
Yeah. So Notre Dame,
they're on a.
You know, we watched
stand after going to Florida State.
Let me ask you guys this: the D1 baseball this week came out with the latest, or what they called the mid-season regional brackets. Basically, if the season ended today, who they would have in each region. And Notre Dame, I'm trying to think. I don't even think Purdue was on it. I think Notre Dame was the only team on there, and I've got Purdue at 0-3 right there. That's wrong this week.
Right there were what was it? Rutgers and Maryland were the 2 teams from the Big Ten. Yep.
And so Notre Dame was the only Indiana team in there. And I'll tell you, looking at this list right there, sorry, IU fans, but IU does not have a chance unless they come through and win out in the Big Ten. I don't think they have a chance of being an at-large bid. Purdue still has a chance, but looking at this, I'm looking at ISU at 18-8 overall, 3-0 this week. What do you think? Do you think they have a chance for an at-large?
I think so. And what would be a feather in their cap is if they play Dallas Baptist, and Dallas Baptist is in the Missouri Valley, so I assume that they do play them. Well, if they fare well against Dallas Baptist, they play Dallas Baptist the last series of the season.
And
May 19, 20, and 21, and that's in Terre Haute. So yeah, so that would make their resume look good. They also go to Carbondale to play Southern Illinois. That's a good team before that. So yeah, they finish up in the top,
and they're
three in the
now
Missouri Valley, and then do well in the tournament. I guess they could get in.
Well, didn't they just sweep Michigan State? Or was that Evansville? SU. Big Ten's not looking real great this year in baseball. Purdue still has a chance. Rutgers and Maryland definitely have a chance. But I was just thinking, if ISU had a chance to play a Rutgers or a Maryland, which I think are not on their schedule, that I'm just worried about their out of conference schedule. Michigan State might look good on paper a little bit just because they're Big Ten, but otherwise,
right. Evansville is playing pretty well. Of course, they're in the same conference with Evansville, so Evansville's looked pretty good at times.
Ball State is still
Illinois a couple of times.
Yeah,
Illinois is not a bad team.
Well, and Ball State's not out of it. But Ball State always they're the one team in Indiana. I think that from baseball,
I think beating. Do they end up losing to Oregon today?
I'd have to look. I have to pull it up and see.
Okay. Well, they had gone 1-3 in the first 4 games, or the first 3 of that 4-game series. But it's at Oregon, and Oregon's a top 25 team, depending on what poll you're looking at. So that's a resume builder.
Well, let's move on to
Indiana State.
Go ahead.
Right now, Indiana State's 59 in the RPI, so that's going to get them way up there, especially if they can do something against Dallas Baptist, who's currently number 2 in the RPI.
Right.
Yeah. If they would, if they sweep the series, that would really get people's attention. But even if they win a series, beat them 2 out of 3, that would be good. There's not a whole lot. That's at the end of the regular season, so that's the last thing that happens, prior to the conference tournament. So
let's. I'm going to come back to the schedules for the upcoming week, but in the meantime, let's move on to D2 here, and just some, looking at the schedules. I've still got my highlights on there that I'm going to take off. Purdue Northwest, they actually, the 2 games this week, the first games they've played in 2 weeks, because they got both of them rained out last week. USI had a rough week. It brought them down below 500. Them and UIndy are both at 13 and 16. I still think both of those, I still think we've got a good chance of all 3 of our D2 schools ending up 500 or better. Looking at the schedules, I don't know off the top of my head what they got left, but I do still think all 3 teams have a chance at getting over 500. Let's move on to the NAI or D3 scene. Sorry, with a couple highlights here. First of all, Andrew Bradley was the player of the week this week. For Earlham, he had 5 home runs. That's what I couldn't remember why I put that on there. 4 in the first game, so it was a double hitter. And what a week he had! I'm trying to think. He's an Ohio kid.
40 runs in that game.
Yeah, he's an Ohio kid. I was trying to remember where I'd seen the name, but he's not from Indiana. He's from Ohio, I believe. But great week for Earlham this week. 4 home runs in 1 game and 5 in a double hitter. Let's look at the D3 right now. The this week and overall schedule. Earlham still going strong. They had that big win that Steve just mentioned. Franklin, another 2-1 week. They're sitting at 19-6. Then Rose Holman's still at 11-7 for the first year coach, and Wabash had a tough week, but still 12-8 overall. That HCAC conference is going to come down to the wire. We talked about that a little bit last week, but that's one to keep an eye on for sure. Moving on to NAIA, a couple notes here. First of all, we got IU Kokomo. We've been watching them all year. This was one of those teams that was on the radar early on, and they're showing it. They're still going strong. Patrick Mills takes home the Player of the Week for the River States Conference. Hit 529 in 5 games with 2 doubles, 2 homers, and drove in 7. So another good week for him. I can't remember where he's from. Is he a Western kid? Where's he from?
Western.
Is it Western? Okay.
Yeah. Went to Purdue right out of high school and then transferred from Purdue to IUK.
Yep. And boy, Western, that's another team, going back to the high school, that's another team to keep your eye out for. They're looking strong this year. An IWU kid here, Indiana Wesleyan, another Player of the Week this week. 7 home runs, drove in 18, scored 13 times. So Evan Selman was the Crossroads NAIA, the Crossroads Player of the Week this week. What a week. 7 big flies, 18 runs, scored 13 times. That is nuts. What a great week he had. Let's look at that NAIA schedule. Once again, I got my highlights on here still that I should probably take off. Don't want to get those wrong. Let's take a look at those, see if I need to highlight any of those. Yeah, we can take out, let's just take off all of them. Do that real quick. Live TV, folks, right there. There we go. And let's USF went 2-1 this week. I don't want to understate that, so I got to make sure that's not a white font right there. Look at there. There we go. Yeah, USF 2-1, 20-17, still over 500. They're right there, them and Oakland. At 20-16, and IUK, we were just talking about them. They lost 2 this week, but they were 20-15 still. So still looking strong. A lot of teams hovering right there around 500. With Indiana Wesleyan at 19-18. Huntington had a good week. Chris or Mark, you were gone, but Chris, did you see any of those games this week? 3-1, still at 17-13.
I didn't, but I know. They won the opener with a walk-off home run. And so the games were actually played at Indiana West, but they were home games for Huntington because Huntington's outfield was too wet. So Huntington took the first, then dropped the second, and then dimed them in the third game and ended up winning 2-1 yesterday afternoon in the nightcap.
Now, Huntington's infield, I know they got a new infield. It's the turf now, but is their outfield still grass or?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I didn't know. Are they eventually going to get that turf too? Do you know?
I don't know. Small college.
Yeah.
Funds.
Right.
Who knows? They did grade it. They did add drainage, but man, we had a bunch of weather, a bunch of rain with not a lot of sun to dry it out. So, and It's down in the bowl anyway. So all the water in the surrounding areas making its way to the baseball field.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I love it. But yeah, that's one of the one of the consequences of it is of those bowl fields like that. It just runs down there. We've got to mention Taylor, still another good week at 3-1, 27-11. They got votes this week for the NAIA top 25. I don't think they're above 25, but I know they got votes this week. So Taylor looking strong. NAIA programs, I don't have to say it. We've all mentioned it every week how much we love NAIA programs. Let's spend a little time here. Go ahead, Mark.
Have you guys, are you aware that IUPUC is going to start baseball next year?
Yes, we talked about that a little bit, and they're starting out in NAIA, I believe. We talked to, and Mark, did you get a chance to talk to him? You got an update on that?
I just heard about it this week. I talked to a guy they're going to have an associate head coach. Basically, 2 different guys are going to be the head coach. One of them is Scott Bickle, who is currently at Ivy Tech. So he's
And
going to be moving there. It's, you know, the unique thing about it is it's going to be $9,000 in state to go there.
well, and they've got every, and Steve, you can fill in some gaps on this because we talked to him a couple of weeks ago. And I'm trying to pull up what was the name of the guy that's the AD there?
Do not
Former
know.
IU baseball player.
Yeah, a pro player too.
Oh, is that
Zach
that?
McClellan.
Zach McClellan. Yes.
You're probably hearing about Zach McClellan on social media because I've seen the NAI had a convention that he was at, and I'm sure he was, I know he was spreading the word about. Well, he's the athletic director there too, so he's spreading the word about all of the IUPUC programs, but baseball included.
Well, it's kind of ironic because we're going from a new program to a program that is heading the other direction. Possibly.
Before you move on NAIA, I know that Ben Real came into the series. They won the first game. If they sweep the 3-game series, they're supposed to play again today. I looked that up and I couldn't see. I don't know if the game's in progress or weather was a factor. Win again tomorrow. That gives him 500 career victories. So he's pretty close to, and there's several other coaches that are getting close to some milestones too.
I'm pulling that up right now.
Get there faster than everybody else. He's closer.
They're currently ranked number 19, and Taylor is currently ranked number 25.
25. Okay, so they did make the top 25. I knew they got votes, but I didn't know if they made the top 25 there. So
yes, they did.
So Steve, I'm going to keep an eye on that game, and if he gets it, this game, right, if they win today, it's 500.
If they swept the 3 games, that would be. I figured out that would be right at 500.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep.
They were.
I'm looking.
I'm looking right now.
That's what I am too, because we definitely want to have that.
I think they were up 3-0 earlier in the day when I looked.
They won.
They won 5-3.
They won 5-3.
Point Park, which is that in Kentucky? They're playing. No, Point Park, I think, is in West Virginia, but that's who they're playing. Point Park.
And they won 5-3, so that's win 500, right?
Did they win 3 games?
They won. They won 5-3, 6-5, but then that was this weekend. Today's doubleheader they swept.
2 games today and 1 tomorrow.
They do have 1 tomorrow. They play tomorrow.
Yeah. Some of these series end up being wraparounds because of the weather.
But now this Tuesday though, we'll have to let's not make an official declaration of 500 just yet because this Tuesday they got rained out.
I just wanted to let you know that he's getting close.
Yep, he's keep an eye on it, and because we're gonna definitely announce that. Let's bring this up here real quick before we talk about the JUCO scene here a little bit. This is the schedule coming up. Let's go to this is today's schedule. Let's go. Starting Tuesday, Purdue Northwest, Butler at Evansville, right there. Wow, that's a big one. This Tuesday, and Purdue is at Grand Valley State. ISU versus IU this Tuesday. Another big one right there. ISU needs that win. They need all those Big Ten wins they can. Notre Dame and Michigan this week, Tuesday also. Thursday, Butler, Georgetown, Purdue Northwest at Northwood, Purdue at Penn State. That'll be a big one too. Notre Dame at Duke. A lot of Indiana ties on that game, probably more with Duke than there are with Notre Dame. Friday, Purdue at Northwood still, Ball State at Akron, Butler at Georgetown, Purdue Northwest, Northwood, Purdue at Penn State again, Valpo at Illinois State, Notre Dame still at Duke. The Aces at Missouri State. And then here's our Saturday lineup for this week. Ball State and Akron. Notre Dame still at Duke. Butler Georgetown, Purdue, Northwood, Purdue, Penn State. No, I don't. That's Purdue Northwest versus Northwood, and Purdue at Penn State next week. So they're out of town. UE at Missouri State, they're out of town. Ball State versus Akron, and Valpo at Illinois State. And then Sunday, let's see if we have anything different here. Ball State still at Akron, UE at Missouri State, Valpo at Illinois State. The big one I see right here, guys, is this Tuesday. Let me get to it here again. This Tuesday, ISU and IU, 6 p.m. Put that on your calendar. I'm either going to try to be there or I'm going to be following that one any way I can for sure. Guys, let's move on to the JUCO scene here before we pass things over to Jeff for our final out of the week. This is the big news right here. Mark hinted at it, and we could talk about this all week. And the one thing I'll add to this, because I know we all have comments on this, but before we do it, let's do some positive news here real quick first. I wanted to throw this out here. Freshman Gage Smith, the first ever cycle for Ivy Tech baseball right there. He hit for the cycle on April 5th. That was last Sunday. So it didn't come in time for us to get it on the show last Sunday. So I wanted to put it on for this week. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about this right here. My take on that is something that I've said on this show 100 times. And that is the finances of baseball are as old as time. Having a baseball organization, I've talked to Big Ten coaches, D1 coaches across the state, and even the D1 coaches, not all of them, but even the D1 coaches have to be a fully funded program, meaning the coach and his one or two paid assistants have to do all the work. They're taking care of the field. They're taking the trash out. They're sweeping the dugout. It's because, especially in the North, we're not LSU. We're not Mississippi State. We're not these programs that can sell out every game. And, because of the weather and everything else, and because we're Indiana, the sport that, a little bit bigger ball is, what we're known for. We're not selling out every game. And, you look at the very core of baseball, it starts out with this big plot of land that you have to start with. And that's before you put in bleachers. That's before you put in travel. That's before you put in, all the, $700 and higher per bat. That's before you put even baseball helmets. Find it so, the one thing that I understand the concern of with Ivy Tech's administration is the finances of it. And that's what this comes down to. It comes down to the finances. Can they afford it or not? And my one take on this is I don't think you can afford not to. You look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a Division I school that does not have a baseball program. And that, to me, of course, it is Wisconsin. You think Indiana's got bad weather in the spring. Wisconsin is a whole nother level. So they add that to the equation. But I think as a junior college, you have to have a baseball program. If your goal is to provide opportunity, to provide second chance for kids, then baseball is proven to be one of those opportunities that I think it's a must. And I think it's, obviously Ivy Tech doesn't have a football program. So, I understand that, even if they did have a football program, I don't, even as well as finances are in football, it's not going to pay for itself. 30 years ago, football cost $300 per player. That was 30 years ago when I was kind of involved in that equation. Now I can't even imagine how much it is. But baseball, there is an element there that people don't understand about coaches. They're not only coaching, but they're also the fundraiser. They're also the manager, but they're also leaders of men. And that to me is not measurable. But when you go beyond that, Ivy Tech traditionally is a program that provides hands-on training in things. And it gets you to that next level, whether that next level is right into a career, which is what Ivy Tech is known for, their hands-on education that gets them a practical education where they can go right into the workforce, or it prepares them for the next level. And if you want to prepare for the next level in baseball, whether it be because you can't afford a D1 program, because we all know that's another element to it, is the horrible scholarship program in Division I baseball. And you guys are going to have to get me to shut up here because I could talk about that for a year. But it provides that opportunity to enhance their skills to get that D1 scholarship. Or maybe they're a good player, but their academics aren't where they need to be. Go the JUCO route, and you have an opportunity now to get your grades where they need to be, to where you can have a program. And so that financial element, I understand, but I don't understand how it cannot be an option. And I'm going to pass it over to you guys, and we could probably talk about this for another 30 minutes. But Mark, I'll pass it over to you first, because this is your backyard. So I know you're passionate about this. So, give me some more thoughts on Ivy Tech deciding to not have a baseball program next year.
Well, one of the things that I don't think people know is that Ivy Tech baseball was not funded by the institution. It was funded by the coaches funding it, raising the money for this. They did fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser to keep this program alive. Okay. Here's another thing. Ivy Tech's president, who made this decision, makes a lot of money. Why not cut that pay? Okay. I'm a union guy. I was brought up a union guy. All right. So I'm not in favor of management when you got blue collar guys out there trying to get something done and someone coming in and cutting their throat. That's where I stand on it. Those guys, this program, they played at a public park in Fort Wayne. They didn't have their own field. They didn't even have talks of having their own field. They played at Schoaf Park. So they took care of Schoaf Park. The city of Fort Wayne, runs Schoaf Park, but Ivy Tech baseball mowed the grass, lined the field, bought new bases, did what they needed to do to make Schoaf Park a place where they could play junior college baseball. So they funded this thing. There is absolutely no justification in saying funding is the issue. That's the real disturbing part here.
And Steve, I know you've got you've done a little bit of research on this. This is all, first of all, folks, this is breaking news. And I want to get your input on it here too. And before we do that, I'm looking here real quick. I want to make sure this is the current roster. 21, 22. I'm pulling up their current roster and make sure they have it on their schedule.
They have 38 players right now. 22 of them are on scheduled to graduate. It's a 2-year school, so sophomores graduate. They're the only sport that's active on campus. Ivy Tech has campuses all over the state of Indiana. It's a vocational network, and they also have a volleyball team at Ivy Tech, but it's vacant. I mean, there's no players right now. They were going to have that, but what they announced the other day was that they were going to cease having baseball and volleyball effective at the end of the next year. So if that holds, if they go forward with that plan, then they will play another season, but then that will be it, unless they can save it, and that's what they're trying to do now.
Well, and I was wanting to look here too, because they don't have, other than if I went through each individual player, which I'm not going to do that right now on live TV, but their last year's roster told what state they lived in. This year's roster does not have that. I wanted to pull.
Well, they got a lot of local players. Local meaning they're from Northeast Indiana, or they're from across the line in Ohio. They probably have some Michigan players too. A lot of local flavor there. You alluded to Matthew Peters, who throws 101 miles an hour. Well, he's a Fort Wayne kid.
Yeah.
He went to Dwyer.
Well, and I don't know, this is kind of touchy ground when I get into some of the other aspects of it, because you mentioned the girls volleyball team, which didn't even have any players. But that all relates to Title IX.
Well, it is a Title IX. It is a Title IX issue. Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely is, because they could add more women's sports over the next that's another thing I read, over the next 3 to 5 years, and that would maybe solve some problems, but I don't know that there's any plans to do that.
Right.
I don't think there's any desire to do that. And I think the language in Title IX also says you have to attempt to have equal sports on both sides, in girls and men's and women's, and they attempted it with volleyball. I think
Right,
part
except
of it,
for maybe another branch of Ivy Tech. Chris and I were going back and forth with it this other day. Might have had basketball, but basically Ivy Tech, the Fort Wayne campus, is the one that's had sports. I don't know if they say they did. Others didn't ask for it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind
no,
of.
they did. When Lance started that program, one of the questions was, why are we doing it in Fort Wayne and not at one of the other sites? Or why can't we do it at one of the other sites? So that was a question. I just don't see where there's a lot of support from the administration to even have athletics when, and that part there is disturbing too, because if you want to increase enrollment, have athletics. That'll bring more people to your school. People think it's just the athletes. Well, a lot of time a girlfriend tags along too. So you might get 30 athletes and 15 girlfriends.
Right.
There's 45 kids right there.
I'm amazed. I'm in Elkhart here, and I'm close to Bethel College. It's in Mishawaka, and a lot of students come from Elkhart County, and I know the coaches and everything. But it's amazing how many athletes they have over there. And of course, those are part of their enrollment, and they're putting money into their coffers. I think their track team has 100 men and women. You can imagine. So,
Well, and
yeah.
that's the
some of these campuses have more than 50% are athletes. Now that's not what Ivy Tech is, but
I don't know what
being athletes that helps in a lot of ways.
If you look at Indiana Tech, I don't know if they would have a school if it wasn't for athletics. Their school is probably 80% athletes.
Well, and what's
creating new sports? They keep bringing new sports in.
And if they have
women's wrestling, just became NAIA affiliated for one thing, So they play hockey.
Yeah.
And many people might not know that. I mean, you're right. They have well over half of their student body as athletes.
Obviously, as Hardy the Hat guy, I don't have an inside look at the finances, for Ivy Tech, but I can't imagine with the almost 40 students that would not be enrolled in Ivy Tech if it wasn't for the baseball program, that turns out to be a loss. Obviously, they gotta shuffle the money around a lot. I don't see it. We're going to post this week. There is a petition going around to help save the program, and I'm going to post some links to that this week. I don't know if it comes down to something as simple as a GoFundMe. I don't know, but I talked to Lance Hirschberger a few years ago about this, and I love Lance Hirschberger. I want to have him on the show. There's some background there, but I want to get Lance on the show because he is a baseball guy, and maybe he's made some mistakes in the past, but that's baseball. Baseball makes mistakes. We need a Lance Hirschberger in the baseball scene in Indiana, and I'm just going to say it. I don't care what he's done. Lance Hirschberger is a good guy. He's a good baseball guy. He is, and I like the current coach for Ivy Tech too. I'm not belittling him whatsoever. But we've probably all by now know
I think he would agree with you.
Well, we need to get him on this show and talk to him.
Would agree with you that, Lance is a good guy.
He is. He's a good guy.
Baseball guy.
He's a good baseball guy. He's a good leader of men, which is why I'm a fan. He's not just about teaching kids how to, barrel a ball. He's creating good men. I had a talk with him back in 2020 when the season was canceled, and he told me that story. I'm talking to a grown man right there that was almost in tears, and not because he couldn't be part of baseball, but because these kids that needed baseball and what it did for them in their career, whether their career was in baseball or not. That's what people don't understand, is the education that you get from baseball outside of the diamond itself. You're getting me on a soapbox here that I could go on for a long time about, but this story's not over, folks, and we're going to keep you posted. Stay tuned. On our Twitter page there, you see Home Plate BAI. We're gonna keep you updated on this, because this is a story we don't want to end. So as we migrate away, one final thing, as we migrate into the pro scene, one story pro scene. It was opening week this week. I do have to mention that if you saw my Twitter, I had a bucket list item I got to check off my list this week. I finally made it to Kansas City, and I got to go to the Negro League Baseball Museum, and man, I was a kid in a candy store there, just seeing those statues of people like Oscar Charleston. I was speechless, and the gods aligned for me, because there was a class that was there on a field trip, and they had an assignment of a bunch of questions, and I overheard one of them, and I'm like, oh man, this is an opportunity. So I helped this group out with one of their questions, and then they told everybody, hey, go see that guy over there in that hat. He's got the answer for you if you can't find it before long. I felt like a tour guide, So it was truly a bucket list for me. But as we talk about the pro scene, just one story I want to mention right here. Sean Mania, through 7, had a no-hitter this week. He got pulled. He had no hits in the 7th inning in his debut, and the coaches made a pitching change in the 8th, so he couldn't complete the no-hitter. Guys, we make up young and old school here. What do you think about that, getting pulled after the 7 innings of no-hit baseball? Is that good for baseball?
How many pitches did he throw?
I don't know. But does that make a difference in your decision on that, Chris? I know it's,
if he's a guy with the history of arm trouble.
Yeah.
You don't want to overthrow someone in week 1.
Right.
You need this guy for October potentially, and you don't want to ruin that in April.
Right.
But it could make a difference. If we're talking about June, no, you're not going to pull him. You're going to let him go until something bad happens, or he walks a guy or something. But in April, it just depends. There are I think, some reasons to pull him.
Right. That's true. That's a solid point. And I just, from a fan standpoint, especially because the throwing Samoan here is from Indiana, and I want him to throw another no hitter. He's already got one. In his career, but yeah, I hate to admit it, but you're right. Not that because you said it, but because it's true. It's April. We can't,
It'd be interesting to hear Sean's point of view.
Yeah,
we may. What does he think about that?
I may have to break my rule. I've got a rule with Sean that I only text message him once a year, but I may have to break the rule and get his opinion on this. That's kind of the pro talking right there. And as we wrap things up, I know Jeff wanted. We've got a backlog of final outs here, folks. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. I know Mark sent me a couple of them this week. We're going to use, but Jeff wanted to talk to us this week as we wrap things up. Today is April 10th, 2022. This was the episode 12 of This Week in Baseball Across Indiana. If you're just joining us for this final out, make sure you go to baseballacrossindiana.com for our full episode. We talked about a lot of stuff this week. Jeff, the final out. Take us home, Sweet Lou.
Well, hate to get on a soapbox about college baseball, but watching the IU Purdue doubleheader today and get on ESPN and watch TCU at Texas, and they've got 70, 75-degree weather down there, and you look up at Purdue and Alexander Field, and they've got blankets and they've got sweatshirts on, and I just think there's a disadvantage here, and I'd love to see the NCAA straighten things out a little bit. Just if we could just stop for a second and imagine in September or October, it's in the 70s. We're at Ross-Age Stadium, and Purdue and Indiana are playing football in the old Oaken Bucket game at about 12:30 on a Saturday afternoon. The stands are full of football players or sports fans in general, fill the stands. And then when that football game's over, everybody just kind of walks down the street and heads down to Alexander Field, and we fill up the baseball stadium and give all the teams in the northern part of the United States an equal footing with the teams down south. I just think that's a great proposal. I wish the NCAA would seriously think about it, because I really think it's a disadvantage for some of the teams up here in the northern part of the state or the United States. And I just think they're getting left out of left out and having a chance to compete equally with the teams in the southern part of the United States. So hopefully that they'll think about that, and my proposal will get passed. We'll see. This is Sweet Lou with the final out.